What's going on guys, it's Michael from GBU. Today we're going to show you how to install your Gen 8 upgrade kit. Now what this kit does consist of will be an 11.1 volt battery, a B3 charger, a 29 centimeter aluminium barrel with a brand new T-piece, a 1.3 spring, a brand new riser hop-up, and also an extended magazine for your Gen 8. Now today we are going to tear this thing down, show exactly where everything goes and how simple it actually is for you to do it at home by yourself. Now we're going to start off with doing an FPS test before we put all the mods in this, and then we'll test it at the end. So follow along and let's see how we get it done. So before we jump into things, we'll just go over some of the tools that you will need. Essentially, you're going to need a small but thin Phillips head screwdriver, 2.5mm hex head, and a 1.5mm hex head. First step when it comes to tearing down the actual Gen 8 itself is you simply want to get your handguard and twist it to the right, and then pull it forward ever so gently. Just give it a bit of a wiggle. And then that'll come off. So that will allow you to open this up virtually like a clamshell. So then you want to take a 2.5mm hex head and you want to go through and take out the series of hex head screws that are scattered all over the receiver. Then there is about 5 hex head screws on the main body itself. And then you have a series of Phillips heads, which where the thinner Phillips head screwdriver will come in handy. So essentially, let's get started and see how we go. So that's the 5 hex head screws on the main body itself. Now you'll go ahead and it's actually a Phillips head on top. So what that essentially does is actually takes off the top rail and allows you to have a seamless split. We'll go ahead and take out the magazine release, which again is another Phillips head screw. And again, try and set those aside to a place that you can't knock them away or lose it. Now do keep in mind that on the back side of the receiver is actually a series of nuts where your Phillips head screws will situate themselves into. So essentially, once you have taken out all of the hex head screws and the Phillips head screws, you will simply take off the top plate of your pistol grip. Now keep in mind there is a small lead bar in there which counterweights the rear end of the blaster itself, so don't lose that also. Now with the top half, simply pull back the charging handle ever so slightly, and then you should be able to just maneuver the top plate off like so, and then you will see your entire gearbox and wiring and stuff on the inside. Now to start off, we're going to start from the front end. We're going to swap out the T-piece and the inner barrel. So again, take a Phillips head screwdriver and take out a couple of these screws. And that's just going to allow you to remove the current T-piece and replace it with the new one that we have here. So again, do not lose those screws. Now with the T-piece, you simply just want to kind of split the front half of the gearbox and pull it out like so. So essentially that's your old one. Now we're going to replace it with an aluminium barrel and a brand new T-piece. So I do like to glue the inner barrel into the T-piece. Kind of allows a decent seal and the ensurety that it's not going to come out of your T-piece while you are out playing gel ball. So simply just put a little bit around the edges, give it a slow turn until it starts to grab, then allow it to set and you're good to go. So essentially that's done. Then we'll go ahead and put it back into the front of the gearbox. Same way that we took it out, we're going to go back in, slide it in by splitting the front of the gearbox open. Essentially, and that is done. Now we are going to change out the spring and we're going to put in the 1.3 spring now. So this one here can be a little more tricky purely because there's a lot of wiring and stuff to deal with while pulling this apart. So this side. So the easiest way is to kind of just tilt the back end up ever so slightly. Get yourself a flathead screwdriver. And you want to turn that to the left. And then just like so, your old spring will pop out. So we'll go ahead and you can either keep that or chuck it away, it's up to you. We'll get a brand new one. Now we do want the most coils at the back end of the gearbox. We don't want them at the front, we want them at the rear. So essentially like so. Now again, the same way that you pulled the other spring out, you're going to put this one back in. Instead of turning to the left, you want to turn to the right. And then essentially that's it, done. Now that that's all finished, we have our spring in there, we have our brand new inner barrel. Now we'll go back in and we'll start to tie down the gearbox itself. Now, same way again as when you pulled the top half of the receiver off, you want to pull the charging handle back ever so slightly and then kind of just feed itself back in. Making sure that all the wires are free and not caught at all. And then we can simply go back through again and tighten up all of our screws. Start with the bigger screws first because they're going to hold down the mass of the receiver itself. Get a handguard just the way we pulled it off. We'll simply slide everything back in and then turn it to the right like so, and then it's all locked into place. Now to put our hop up on, this is where the 1.5 hex head will come into play. So essentially you just want to slide it onto the front like so. Sure that everything is lined up. And then essentially, that is your upgraded Gen 8 with your brand new inner barrel, T-piece, with 1.3 spring and your riser hop up. Now we'll go through essentially and just kind of tell you what each individual part will do and why it's called an upgrade. Now we'll start at the rear with the 1.3 spring. So the original one that we did pull out, it's currently doing about 250 feet per second with an average of like 245. Now with a 1.3 spring, technically it should push it up to around 290, maybe 300 feet per second. So it's a massive 50 feet per second increase. Now the inner barrel itself has got a tighter bore of 7.5 where the generic one is 7.6. And obviously being aluminium, it's a lot more sturdier. It doesn't have the flexibility that the plastic does. So again, itself as well will increase your FPS, which will be determined very, very shortly. Now, the hop up itself at the end, for those that don't know, is going to increase your accuracy. Now, it does have two adjusting points, which one at the top will adjust your curvage going upwards, where the one at the bottom will adjust your curvage going downwards. So there is a sweet spot where you can kind of set them both at, where they're going to go dead on, depending where you're shooting, if it's windy, if it's not, entirely up to the environment, but we'll get this thing as accurate as we can. So let's give this thing a chrono, see what she's performing at, and we'll go give this thing a shoot. So this is a generic Gen 8, the one that we haven't upgraded just yet. It is tan, it's the same blaster, all the same features, but we'll give it a couple of shots and we'll show the big difference between this and the upgraded Gen 8 that you're going to have. So as we can see, very inconsistent. And it's struggling to actually hit that box, which is about 15 meters away. So that's your generic one. let's grab the upgraded one and we'll see how it performs. So here we have our upgraded one that we just did in the video. So we've got our hopup on there. I've slightly tuned it, not too much, but we'll give it a couple of shots and we'll see how it goes. Already a massive, massive difference, even with the punching power once it actually hits the end, like so. Definitely not missing any targets with this. So again, guys, if you want to get your Gen 8 upgrade kit, come on down and see us at 7/18 Bailey Crescent in Southport on the Gold Coast, or they are online right now as I speak. Peace out.